In part 2 of this series, Best Medicinal Herb Books, I'm going to share the one book that changed how I approach complex client cases. It's dense, a little intimidating at first, but if you want to see clients as an herbalist, it's a must-have. So stick around until the end if you're wondering what that book is and whether you're ready for it too. Book number 1 is The Yoga of Herbs by Drs. David Frawley and Dr. Vasant Ladd. I love this book so much, and it shows. The pages are falling out. For those who don't know Ayurveda, it's the ancient healing modality that originated in India. It's a really approachable modality for understanding constitutions, like how a person is naturally oriented in their body, but also in their personality tendencies, based on the elements and the patterns of how imbalance shows up in people, depending on their dosha. So Ayurveda encompasses way more than just doshas, constitutions, but doshas tend to be an approachable entry point for people to start understanding themselves through this lens. Again, just like I did in part 1 of this series, Best Medicinal Herb Books, which you can watch here, I'm going to share how these books are helpful to me in my practice, but it doesn't necessarily mean you must get this exact book. Rather, I want you to think about how to round out your herbal education. So it doesn't have to be Ayurveda, but I do think that having some understanding of a different, older, holistic healing system is really valuable in herbalism. And by older, I mean way older than modern medicine, because of all of our ancient healing systems are truly holistic, and that they consider more than what's going on in the body when it comes to health. They look at temperament, emotions, spirit, mindset, relationships, of course, food. They start with the person, who the person is, what in their life is contributing to disharmony. They don't start with disease like our medical model does. I think when people approach herbalism solely from a clinical, biomedical model, they see the disease and not the person. So the Yoga of Herbs is one of many options to bring a more whole person-centered lens into your herbal practice. It covers Ayurvedic herbalism in a way that's approachable while challenging you to deepen your observational skills of how people are oriented. In herbalism, we talk a lot about energetics. Is an herb heating, cooling, moistening, drying? Ayurveda is one of many lenses to view these principles in relation to how these same qualities and herbs shift people. And when you add that onto your personal experience of an herb based on your Ayurvedic dosha, and you feel in your body those shifts, it really all starts to click. Don't expect recipes here. You won't find a single mix this with that kind of formula everywhere. Instead, you'll learn how herbs work with your entire constitution, how they affect the doshas and the body's subtle energies. And later on, when we get to one of the most technical books on the list, I'll show you how this foundational understanding of constitutions and energetics really helps to decode even the most clinical, science-heavy herbal texts. Trust me, the connection might surprise you. I'm Selima Harleston Lust, clinical herbalist and co-founder of I Will a Remedy, where I've now taught over 6,000 people how to use herbs skillfully to invigorate, restore, and nourish their bodies. I train and mentor aspiring herbalists in my program, Herbal Medicine for the Soul. I teach a semester-long African-American herbalism course at Spelman College, and what I love most is teaching you about how your body works, how your mental and emotional well-being affect you, and how to use herbs to truly care for your whole self. Book number 2 is Herbal Constituents by Lisa Gernora. This book is no joke. You're in for a treat if you love chemistry, but if you hate it, I suggest you embrace it because herbalists are low-key chemists. I did not do well in high school chemistry, but I grew to appreciate it as an herbalist because it fills in so many of the gaps. When you read a list of 20 indications for an herb and wonder, but how does a single herb do all of that? It's the phytochemistry that answers those questions. And Lisa is an herbalist who studied chemistry and now teaches chemistry through an herbal lens. And she teaches you the principles of chemistry that you need to know to improve your herbal skills, so you don't have to worry about learning abstract chemistry concepts that don't and won't apply to herbalism. This book will help your medicine making, your formulary, and her enthusiasm for probably what many would consider a complex, technical, maybe even boring field jumps through the page. Book 3 is actually a part of a 5-volume series, Herbal Formularies for Health Professionals by Dr. Jill Stansberry. So these volumes are always by my side when I'm working through complex client protocols or developing clinical workshops and presentations. The introductory essays of each volume are so good, so insightful. These are not just reference books. They kind of feel like having a mentor sitting beside you, having a conversation with you as you work through understanding a case and your herbal options. Each volume focuses on a different body system, and Dr. Stansberry doesn't just tell you what herbs to use, she really walks you through her thinking, why she chose those particular herbs, how they work together, when you might modify the formula, and she sprinkles in some pathophysiology, so you understand more of what's happening in the body. It's highly referenced for when you want to do more research, and she's got 35 years of clinical experience. So start with volume 1 if you're budget conscious. It's a book on digestion, which really is foundational to everything else anyway. But honestly, if you're working with people's health, you'll want the whole set eventually. This is where you stop learning herbs and really start thinking like an herbalist. It's a major shift. So these aren't books that tell you what to use. They teach you how to think through a case, how to choose, and how to adjust. Struggling with a health issue that just won't budge. You want a holistic path. You're even thinking about becoming an herbalist, but you need real guidance. Let's talk. Book a free call with me and we'll figure out your next right step, whether it's a private consultation or one of my signature programs like Herbal Medicine for the Soul. So if you're ready to feel better and live on purpose, click the link and schedule your free call today. Let's get you aligned and moving forward. Book 4 is Medical Herbalism by David Hoffman. I don't think I know a single clinical herbalist who doesn't have this book. It's definitely a staple in most people's apothecaries. This is one of the first real herbal textbooks I bought. David Hoffman strikes this really good balance between academic, enough to feel substantial, but not so clinical that you'll be overwhelmed. He connects herbs to body systems and helps you understand not just what to use, but when and why. I think this book is one that's a good transition from hobbyist to developing clinician. In part 1 of this series, I gave you books for beginners, and there are a few that I would probably recommend to an intermediate category, like David Winston's book on adaptogens, Kate Meyer's book on energetic herbalism, Cheryl Tilgner's Herbal Medicine from the Heart of the Earth book. But medical herbalism serves as a really good bridge between recipes, materia medica, and take this herb for that condition approach to connecting the herbs to the body and understanding more about the condition. So if you're a beginner and you want to start helping people, then I would get this book as your stepping stone, not Dr. Stansberry's 5-volume set just yet. Those volumes are the step after this step, and the next book is the step after those. But before we talk about the final book, here's an example of why I'm saying get these clinical books in a particular order. In a minute, I'll read you the quote from an advanced book that will make you stop mid-sentence and say, wait, what? And it's exactly why I suggest not skipping steps in your herbal journey. The final book we'll talk about is going to overwhelm the heck out of you if you don't have the foundation for medical herbalism. And Dr. Jill Stansberry's set will give you the herbs and the formulas, but because she's a naturopathic doctor, there's an underlying assumption that the person reading her books kind of have the same or similar educational background as her. So her books explain the herbs like you are someone who understands anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology. For example, let's say you are supporting someone with asthma. Beginner books are going to say, mullein is supported for asthma without context or understanding why and how, but every condition is more complex than it initially sounds. I had a student actually die from chronic asthma. RIP to Michael. It's not just difficulty breathing from inflammation and narrowing of the airways. That experience, with Michael And let me be clear, he didn't pass because we did something wrong or I did something wrong as an herbalist. It completely reshaped how I study herbal texts and reading them from imagining like what the person with the most severe experience may need. And it's what I emphasize in these stepping stones, because skipping foundational understanding can have real consequences. There are a number of triggers, complications, other factors like diet, environmental, infectious, hormonal, that are associated with just asthma alone. Medical Herbalism, that book, is going to give you a good overview of this information written in mostly layman's terms, along with a treatment strategy and herbal and nutritional support. For a beginner moving to intermediate level herbalist, is just the right amount of information. Dr. Stansberry's volumes will give you more plant options, but she only sprinkles in what's happening in the body because she's assuming you already know. So here's a quote from volume 5 of Dr. Stansberry's text to give you an idea of what I mean. Numerous medicinal herbs have been documented as useful bronchodilators, mast cell stabilizers, and immunomodulating agents via inhibiting the release of inflammatory mediators, including leukotrienes, lipoxygenase, cyclooxygenase, platelet activating factor, phosphodiesterase, and cytokines. Did you get all that? No, of course you didn't. So the way she talks about herbs is going to connect back to what's going on in the body on the tissue and cellular levels, which is more advanced. Now, book 5 is Principles and Practice. It's worn out, y'all. Principles and Practice of Phytotherapy by Carrie Bone and Simon Mills. And it's intense. It's thick. It's technical, but you definitely won't be reading this in bed before you sleep. But if you're serious about practicing herbalism at a clinical level, it's absolutely essential. In terms of technicality, it's several notches above medical herbalism and Dr. Stansberry's volumes. And I don't mean that the information is less valuable in those books. It's just the way the concepts are explained in Principles and Practices of Phytotherapy requires a deeper level of understanding of the body than the other books do. So this book does not mess around. Every claim is backed up with research. Every herb profile includes pharmacodynamics and contraindications. Every protocol is evidence-based. It's the book I reach for when I need to understand exactly how an herb might interact with the medication. Some people find it dry. I find it empowering. In a field where there's so much conflicting information floating around online, having this level of rigorous scientific backing feels like a solid ground under my feet. But it's definitely more like taking a university course than casual reading. In fact, taking a few medical courses would help you understand this book better, but that's exactly what makes it valuable. If you want to practice safely and effectively with complex cases, this book is a non-negotiable. And because none of the books I've talked about have covered African American healing systems or practices, that's part 3 of this series. I hate it that we are always left out of this conversation, so let me know in the comments if you're excited to learn about herbal books written by Black people. Thanks so much for tuning into this video. We're going to put links to all of the books below in the show notes. Be sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.